Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News, January 10th, 2018, 4:45 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. And sorry it's so early in the morning to be holding a live stream, taking into consideration we have viewers, followers, and subscribers literally all over the world. And there is so much going on right now on planet Earth. It's absolutely amazing at basically the sign of the times that we're living in. Most of you already know that there was a magnitude 7.8 earthquake that hit just off of the coast of Honduras. And this was a pretty powerful earthquake. Right now, at this particular time, we're not seeing too much as far as damage reports coming in from any of the Central American countries. This earthquake did happen in a portion of this body of water right here between Cuba and Central America, Yucatan Peninsula. There is a very, very, very deep crevice, kind of shaped like a V right here, and I'll show it to you on some other maps. But I'm able to listen to these earthquakes. There's a website that I go to, and they're actually able to convert the sound waves into a wave format, and you can actually listen to the earthquake. And I listen to just about every single one of them that occur that are over a magnitude 4. And something very odd is happening, because as I listened to the sound wave of this earthquake, it was kind of eerily silent, kind of quiet. Not something that you would imagine with a 7.8 magnitude earthquake. Now, you know, with these sound waves, it doesn't matter if it's underwater or on land. And I've made a few videos letting people hear this sound wave, and you're actually able to listen to what these earthquakes sound like. But it was very low. It just seemed like the intensity wasn't there. But yet, we had a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. There were tsunami warnings that were issued. And as of yet, I haven't heard too much about the tsunamis. They mentioned approximately a 3-foot tsunami wave, possibly headed towards Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Really haven't seen too much on that yet. But this earthquake, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to show you some seismograms from around the world. And this earthquake literally shook the earth from one end to the other. And you know, we are only 10 days in to the beginning of 2018. And you know, seismologists, scientists, they came out right at the end of December 2017. They came out with some reports and some statements, and they were stating clearly that 2018 was going to be a very, very seismic year. Now, folks, I don't know exactly where they are getting their data, you know, to make that type of a statement. So, whenever I hear authorities like that come out and say, or make a prediction or a forecast, and they say something like that, well, you know, I investigate earthquakes, volcanoes. I investigate all of this, including what is happening with Planet X. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, I refer to Planet X as a planet, but you know, in actuality, it's not a planet. And we know that. We know that it's a stellar core of some kind, a remnant of a star, probably billions of years old. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, there will probably be, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that will try to debunk the topic or tell you that it just doesn't exist. As I've mentioned before, we've shown enough photographic evidence month after month after month over the past 2 years that this object definitely exists. There is definitely something going on with our planet as we speak. Things are becoming much more violent with the earthquakes, the volcanoes, and the weather. Now, once again, I'm sure all of you have seen and heard what has just happened out in California. Absolutely devastating situation. But folks, this just goes to show you how mainstream media, at least in this country, the United States, this just goes to show you how they just basically don't report on newsworthy events. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this localized flooding that occurred in California, yes, it was bad. But there is worse flooding and worse devastation in many, many other countries. Central America, South America, Indonesia. I mean, it's happening all over the world. But do you see it on CNN? No, you do not. Do you see it on NBC? No, you do not. CBS? Even Fox. Fox News Network is the news network that I watch. But these news agencies are so strung up with this whole Donald Trump administration, the presidential administration here in the United States. And to me, it almost seems like, they're just trying to keep your attention on crazy politics so you don't really know what is happening around the world. And like I've said before, ladies and gentlemen, people are losing their lives. People are dying because of these events. From extreme cold to extreme heat. And we're going to be getting into some weather here very, very shortly. But once again, folks, before we get into all of this information, I want to thank all of you for following us on Planet X News on Facebook. And once again, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please make sure that you set your notifications and subscribe to the Planet X News YouTube channel and also Dr. Albers' YouTube channel. You'll see she will share the videos that she makes. They will be shared on the Planet X News Facebook page. And Dr. Albers is a very, very smart and educated and professional lady. And, sometimes she may not touch on topics of Planet X all of the time, but she is investigating other matters that are very, very important. And remember, as I always say, knowledge is power. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. And the current state of affairs on this planet, well, let's just face it. You need this knowledge. Some of you, where you live on this globe, you may need this knowledge to literally survive. And we're only in the first 10 days of 2018. And we've seen very extreme weather. Now, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. And a dormant volcano that has erupted in Papua New Guinea. More earthquakes spewing ash 36,000 feet into the sky and the atmosphere. So there's a lot of events happening, folks. And having the power of social media through Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and even though YouTube censors my YouTube channel, I mean, they literally censor the hell out of me. We have almost 67,000 subscribers on YouTube, but only approximately 10% of those people are actually able to see our videos or our live streams. To me, ladies and gentlemen, that is a travesty. That is just plain damn wrong. But there's nothing that I can do about it. But there is something that you can do about it. You can continue to share the articles on the Planet X News website. Anything that is posted on the Planet X News Facebook page, and share the videos that Dr. Albers and I post on our website, on our YouTube channels, Sharing these videos and allowing others to see them, experience and see what is happening. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it is very important. Very important. This is not a game about YouTube views or, how many people watch your videos and read your posts on Facebook. We're getting into the time in this year of 2018 already where, it's getting very close to life or death when we're seeking information. And, there are so many people out there that do not want this information passed around. But as long as we have the power of social media, we're going to continue. All of you are an extension of my voice. And all of you are positioned in different areas on this globe. And you have access to information that I might miss. So therefore, our network of individuals, of people around the world is growing. And that is something that the powers that be, well, they just don't want to see that happen. They may win a few battles, but we cannot allow them to win the war. And ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what this has become. This has become a war and a battle of information. And the powers that be do nothing but deceive us. So, getting back to this earthquake, it was downgraded from a magnitude 7.8 to a 7.6. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you might think that that small drop from a 7.8 to a 7.6, you might not think that that's a really big deal. But whenever they classify these earthquakes, it does become a big deal in their statistics. So after I was reviewing a lot of the information pertaining to this earthquake was actually over an 8.2. See, I have the ability to go in and look at the reporting stations. And there were several reporting stations, the actual seismic devices underwater that recorded this seismic event well over an 8.2, 8.3, 7.9, 8.0. But see, ladies and gentlemen, they're not going to allow that information to get out there because that is going to be very startling. The agencies that reported on this event, the USGS and the Australian Geological Society, they have devices in this location They were the first to report this event. I just think it's a travesty that we can't get true and real information. That's just wrong. People's lives, well, they rely on information. We see it on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, in the newspapers, on TV. The information superhighway. Well, they're trying to block it every single chance that they get. But we as a group, we can't stand for it anymore. We just can't. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the live earthquake map real quick. And you can see, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here, and we're going to take a look at this event. And there have been quite a few, well, I don't even want to call these aftershocks because they're quite significant. 6 hours ago, there was a magnitude 4.3, and these are very, very shallow. If you look right here at the depth, we're always looking at the depth of the earthquake. Magnitude 4.3 here. I'm going to have to zoom in very close because there's a very, very tight swarm. So these are duplicate reports. This is a 7.8. Now, you can see the USGS listed this at a depth of 33 kilometers and a magnitude 7.8 right there. We'll click over here, and it was a duplicate. So that's kind of odd. And then we go over here, another 7.6, depth 10 kilometers, USGS, 7.6, depth 16 kilometers, Geoscience Seismic Office in Australia. Right out here, 5 hours ago, magnitude 4.5, USGS feed, depth 10 kilometers. So folks, you know, it's kind of hard to discern how many large earthquakes occurred in this zone. Pretty significant. 13 hours ago, a magnitude 2.8 right here in Texas. Only a depth of 5 kilometers. Very, very shallow. And these earthquakes down here near Honduras, these are very shallow quakes. Very shallow. Now let's move over to California. As you can see, the little red dots signify earthquakes that have happened within the hour. A couple of small quakes. But you can see all along the San Andreas Fault, all through California and south of Los Angeles, leading into San Diego. Very, very active. Earlier today at, I think it was about 6 p.m. this afternoon, there were quite a few earthquakes just peppering the whole entire state and also Nevada. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into what we refer to as heliplots or seismograms. And these seismograms, these will give us, well, basically, these are going to let us see the intensity of these earthquakes. They'll show us P waves and S waves. And I'm talking kind of like a seismologist here. But usually, folks, these seismograms, they're not black like this. This is in Grenada. This seismogram is probably not working properly. So right up here, if you follow my cursor, we're looking at Barbados, completely black. And this is all up-to-date information, folks. Panama, which is in Central America, completely black. Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, completely black. Jamaica, Dominican Republic, completely black. These seismograms, again, are all up to date. Here is Honduras, and this is what occurred. Beijing, China, on the other end of the globe. China. More seismograms from different areas in China. This one says Tibet, China. Here's more. Don't ask me to pronounce these Chinese cities. It's not going to happen. The Aleutian Islands. The islands that stretch off of the coast of Alaska. Samoa. New Mexico. I don't know why New Mexico is listed in this, because this is basically kind of international seismograms. The country of Turkey. St. George. Antarctica. Here's Missouri mixed in here. Thailand, Alaska, Oregon, Australia, the Philippines. And we're going to just go ahead and peruse through these. Ethiopia, Germany, Mariana Islands, Texas, Solomon Islands. The Republic of Korea, Afghanistan, Finland, Norway, Ukraine, Hawaii, Kenya. The list goes on and on. Norway, Chile, Russia, Japan, Ecuador, Australia, Spain, the Galapagos Islands. That's a tough one. More from Russia, Papua New Guinea, Hawaii, Palmer Station in the Antarctic, Pitcairn Island, South Pacific. So that was the international feed. We'll go to the national feed. As you can see, Alaska, New Mexico, Missouri. I'm just going to go ahead and run these down real quick. Oregon, Florida, Texas, Hawaii, South Dakota, Standing Stone, Pennsylvania. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering why I'm showing you these seismograms, is to show you the power that this magnitude 7.8 earthquake had on the Earth. It may not have been a destructive force as far as buildings falling over, huge cracks and crevices in the land. And thank God that this did not occur on land, because, you know, we'd be looking at a completely different situation. But whenever we see these seismograms completely black like this all around the world, I mean, this is telling us that this earthquake really wasn't a surface earthquake. Because let's face it, folks, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake out in the ocean, depending on what type of earthquake it was this some type of a slip where you have two plates brushing up against each other, one moving left, one moving right? Or was this an uplift? So I don't think that this was that type of an earthquake where we had a landmass move upward, because a magnitude 7.8 earthquake with an upward lift would definitely create a much larger tsunami than just 3 feet. So where this earthquake occurred, it occurred right next to a fault line. And this was a powerful quake. And it sent the energy straight through the entire planet. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I've mentioned before that planet Earth, it may seem like the third rock from the sun, but our planet is very fragile. You all know that it's made up of tectonic plates, kind of like a puzzle. Well, if you take a puzzle and you start to shake it violently, well, you're going to shake some of those pieces apart. So this 7.8 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Honduras may just possibly lead to more substantial earthquakes in this area. And it's not a good area, folks. I mean, Central America, it's just not a good place for these types of earthquakes. Don't get me wrong here. There's no place that's, worth having these types of earthquakes. But, because of the infrastructure of the countries in Central America, they don't have the best building codes and things of that nature. Not very, very modern countries. I mean, the ability to have more direct destruction and death, well, they're at a much, much higher level. So, going through all of these seismograms, this was literally felt by the earth, not by people, by the earth. This was felt around the world. This energy went straight through our planet. And for some people, you may think, okay, well, you know what? An earthquake is an earthquake, no big deal. Well, listen, folks, having a magnitude 7.8 earthquake in this region, it is kind of odd. It's very, very suspicious. It's very, very alarming. And if you put a magnitude 7.8 earthquake, for instance, in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, or off the coast of New York City, or off the coast of California, we're going to have a big problem. The ball game is going to change drastically. If you don't think it can happen, you better wake up and smell the coffee. Because it can. And in due time, it probably will. But as you can see, Erie, Pennsylvania, up near Lake Erie, almost completely black. Minnesota, Michigan, Georgia, State of Washington, Hanford, Idaho, Utah. So on and on and on, you can see that earthquake was literally felt by the earth worldwide. And again, folks, this was not a very deep earthquake. It was very shallow. 33, 34, 35 kilometers deep. That's not deep. We start to really worry about deep earthquakes when we're looking at 150, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 kilometers deep. And we've seen some 600 kilometers deep earthquakes in the Fiji Islands. Several of them last week and the week before. 600 kilometers deep. That is all the way down into the mantle of this planet. That's a deep cut. And that is something to worry about. Because all of that energy generates itself straight across the Pacific Ocean. It impacts the west coast of South America. And they have their own issues down there. Argentina, Chile. Always. Now, you can see right here, this is the Mexico Seismology Office. I actually keep in touch with a man down there that I got to know back in 2016 He works at the seismology office in Mexico City. He's been keeping his mouth shut for 2 years now. Based on what he's been seeing. So right now we're looking at all of the earthquakes along the west coast of Mexico leading into Guatemala, Central America, over the past 3 days. So I'll take away day 3 and we'll just show 2 days. If you follow my cursor over here, you can see the magnitude of these earthquakes, all of them over magnitude 4. Now we'll go ahead and show 3 days of total earthquakes. You can see how active this region is. Now, the Honduran earthquake's not going to show up on their feed. But that earthquake was right out here. And the energy, it was probably felt. I'm sure everybody in this area of Central America and possibly even Cuba and Jamaica, I'm sure some of them maybe felt this earthquake. But a magnitude 7.8, yeah, that's definitely nothing to sneeze at. Now here's the area that I was talking about around New Zealand, the Fiji Islands. And this is 9 hours ago, magnitude 5.2. Again, the depth, not deep at all, 68.83. But in the days before, there were several deep earthquakes here. One of them was over 600 kilometers deep. That's very deep. You could see a massive swarm of earthquakes right up here in Alaska. So they're popping everywhere. There was a large swarm of earthquakes over in the Caribbean near Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. The majority of them have been removed from this map already. Magnitude 4.3 in Iran, very shallow. Magnitude 5.4 right off the coast of Japan. Now, not all of the earthquakes for Japan are listed. They've been removed. But over the past 48 hours, all of this region right off the coast of Japan has been hit with one earthquake after another. Only 14 kilometers deep, magnitude 5.4. New Caledonia, magnitude 4.9. As you can see, the depth, very shallow. So all of these earthquakes are very, very shallow. Matter of fact, there's an earthquake that's not appearing on here, but right around in this region here off of the coast of the Antarctica, there was just a magnitude 5. There was a 5.0 or 5.1 earthquake that occurred down here. It's not been listed as of yet. So, as you can see, the Earth is a rockin' and a rollin' with these earthquakes up here in Montana. Small earthquakes occurring. We've seen major swarms around this area. All through this area. Major swarms of earthquakes. There is also a lot of concern. I'm going to switch on the actual map here. There's a lot of concern right now about Mount St. Helens. A lot of earthquakes that are being recorded in the region. We also have this large mountain that's getting ready to come down right up here in Washington, this Rattlesnake Ridge Mountain. I don't know why this is stuck like this. Let me get rid of this for a second. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. This Rattlesnake Ridge Mountain. This is the area where that huge crack on top of this mountain is occurring. And you can see there are communities down here on both sides. Now, there's a small surface mining operation that's been here for years. And they're digging into the side of this mountainside, and they're mining basalt. I think that's what it is. But right along here, folks, right there is a massive, in some spots 250-foot deep fissure. And it's going to bring down this entire mountainside. Now, I was gaining some more information on this subject earlier yesterday. And, you know, I thought that this was kind of just like, you know, kind of just like dirt. But in actuality, this is solid rock. So the report that I was reading, some of the USGS people have already been up here, geologists, and also some excavation engineers. And it's not a matter of time. This whole entire mountainside is going to come down. And like I said, I thought that, you know, just by looking at this region was just, you know, kind of like just dirt. But it's rock. And when that comes down, it's going to wipe this Interstate 82. It's going to wipe it right out. Now, something that I don't agree with, and these engineers out of the state of Washington and the USGS, they're claiming that there is no threat to the Yakima River. You know, folks, I think they are flat out lying to people. Because if you take a look, oh, sorry about that. The map just updated all by itself. Let's zoom in here again. Oops. If we just take a look at this fissure, it's probably going to stretch all the way up around here. But if you take a look at this section of land, they have estimated that it is over 1 million cubic yards. 1 million cubic yards. 1 million times 3. 1 million cubic yards. Well, folks, if you take a look at the size of this piece of land that is quite high, this is a pretty high elevation. Here's your Yakima River. So they're saying that there is no way that this landslide, when and if it occurs, will not make its way to the river. And the reason why they're so concerned is because if you take even half of that amount of soil, rock, and dirt, and you transfer it right into this portion of the river, what do you think is going to happen? The Yakima River runs this way, south. So if you all of a sudden bury this whole entire region and you block this waterway, well, where's the water going to go? the water is going to back up all the way into Yakima. And, you know, Yakima is a pretty big area. This is the city of Yakima, Washington. Hundreds of thousands of people. But once again, you know, they feed us lies. I'm not a geologist. I'm not a seismologist. But I worked in heavy equipment operation for 10 years. I worked on a big casino project in Washington, Pennsylvania. And in the course of 9 months, we moved 1 million cubic yards of dirt for the casino, using some of the largest earth-moving equipment on this planet. I know what it's like to move 1 million cubic yards of dirt. It's not an easy task. And this Route 82, well, this is one of the main routes leading into the city of Yakima. So if you bring down this whole entire mountainside and it flows over into that river, what are you going to do? Stop the river from flowing? If you look down here, this looks like a waterway. This looks like a dam, or a set of locks, as they refer to them. But that's actually downwind of this collapse. So if we kind of pan out a little bit here, this is the region we're talking about. So 60 miles to the east, there have been several earthquakes. They're not listed on this map. 50 miles to the west, there have been several earthquakes. Some of them have been involving Mount St. Helens. I think the last count that I got was over 80 earthquakes, small tremors, some of them sizable. So, if something happens, get a bigger earthquake to the west or to the east of this area, it's going to shake that mountain and it's going to collapse. And that's going to be one hell of an event in the United States. Now, they've evacuated a lot of the people that live in that area. But just as stubborn as some people can be, there were a lot of people that did not want to leave. They want to try to ride it out. I don't think that's a good idea when you're facing, that type of situation. That's really, really, really bad. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this area, and I want to get into a few other things real quick with you guys on the Planet X News website. The flu. I know a lot of you have heard about it. You may have gotten a flu shot. You may have not gotten a flu shot. Me, I wouldn't recommend it, but, don't listen to me. I don't like needles. Nor do I trust these flu shots. The reason why I'm bringing this up, ladies and gentlemen, over the course of the last couple of days, on my local news here in the Pittsburgh area, there have been several tragic deaths due to this flu. But the deaths, they weren't elderly people, they weren't older people that, you would think that would be more susceptible to this horrendous H3N2 flu that has obviously mutated. Who the hell knows? You know, they could have made this in a laboratory, and next thing you know, you have an epidemic worldwide. But the tragic deaths that have occurred in my Pittsburgh area were young people in their early 20s. Died from the flu. You know, a critical story that I just heard on the news yesterday afternoon. I believe the young man was 23 years old, a physical fitness instructor. This guy, young man, was ripped. I mean, this guy was in excellent physical condition. But his family buried him because he died of septicism and complications from the flu. Now, I believe that this young man's story has made it on national news across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, things are getting out of hand on every avenue, from earthquakes to volcanoes, to politics, to war, to the flu. I don't know what advice I can give you when it comes to this flu. You know, I was joking around with a friend of mine earlier yesterday afternoon, and he was worried about, you know, getting this flu because he has asthma. And I told him, I said, listen, stay away from people. Don't go near anybody. Don't touch anything. Well, folks, you know, we don't live in that type of a world where we could just hibernate away from everybody and hope that you don't get this flu. But I've posted several articles on this flu epidemic, and it is an epidemic. When people around the world are starting to drop dead from the flu, for instance, this 23-year-old young man who was in excellent physical shape didn't even make it off of the life flight from one hospital to the main university hospitals in the city of Pittsburgh. His family and fiance crushed by what has happened. Many, many years ago, when I lived in Miami, I worked for my father's advertising company. And, you know, we had over 200 employees. And I was always getting sick. You know, one person would bring a cold or the flu into the office. And like for 3 months, everybody was sick. You just couldn't get rid of it. And I used to fly for a living from city to city, you know, for business. I was on airplanes with people coughing and hacking in my face. Just disgusting. And I was constantly getting sick. And I was in my mid-20s at that time. So this is more than 20 years ago. I got sick of it. No pun intended. So I started researching ways that I could boost my immune system. And one herb that I found is called astragalus. And I still take astragalus to this day. And they've been using astragalus in many, many different research aspects. And you can find astragalus online. You could find it at GNC stores, vitamin stores, things of that nature. And it boosts your immune system. You take one capsule every single day, and there are a very, very wide variety of benefits to taking this astragalus. So, you know, if you guys want to run out today, tomorrow, order it online, start taking it. There's no side effects from it, nothing like that. But allowing your body to boost its immune system is the key. You know, you just never know what you're going to come in contact with. Dr. Albers is a health fanatic and a vegetarian. And, you know, I've seen her kitchen cabinet. One of them is absolutely full of all kinds of herbs and things of that nature. And she's a very, very healthy individual. And I got her started on taking astragalus. So if you guys want to go ahead and research astragalus, pick yourself up a bottle of it and start taking it. You have family members at home, your husband, your wife. As far as children go, folks, I would check with your pediatricians, with your kids. But, you know, with kids going to school and you going to work and each and every one of us having interactions with other people, you're touching things with your hands, you're putting them in your face. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your hands out of your face. Don't go to Walmart and start pushing a shopping cart and then put your fingers in your mouth because you don't know what you're sticking in your mouth after touching the handle on the shopping cart. If you see people coughing and hacking and not covering their mouth, get away from them. Get away from them. Because apparently this strain of flu is absolutely horrendous and it's costing people their lives. So heed my warnings. I'll post on the Planet X News Facebook page, I'll post some information on the astragalus and where you guys can get the purest form of this herb. Now, they're also using astragalus in cancer research and also AIDS research. It is a very powerful herb. Some of the symptoms we all know: high fever, cough, sore throat, runny nose, muscle aches, headaches, nausea, fatigue, and then death. What? Yeah, it's happening. So there's a lot of great articles on the Planet X News website. Make sure you guys pay attention to them, share them. Most definitely. I've posted quite a few articles pertaining to a very, very strange blue comet that was shown on the Pan star. Very, very, very strange. This has astronomers up in arms about a blue comet. Very strong explosion at an earthquake in Russia, spewing ash 36,000 feet into the air. Here is all of the information on the earthquake that just happened, magnitude 7.8 off the coast of Honduras. Here's the article about what happened in California. Devastating. Devastating in California. The last that I saw, there was 13 deaths already pertaining to these mudslides. The last news report that I got, they pulled a little baby that was buried in 4 feet of mud. A little baby. Thank God they saved that child's life. So there's a lot of information on here. There was a complete section of a highway that looked like a river, full of debris. And remember, folks, this is happening in the area where they had all of the fires. So, you know, the soil's messed up, the trees are gone, and just rivers of black water rushing down. I watched it for hours on the news and the Weather Channel. And instead of spending more time on this, They go back to, oh, Oprah Winfrey's going to run for president. Oh, Hillary Clinton. Oh, Donald Trump. Oh, the Russian collusion. Who cares? People are losing their damn lives. The media around the world is so jacked up right now. They're losing their train of thought about what they do for a living. News report it. I'm actually sick and tired of hearing the same thing every single day when we have catastrophes like this occurring worldwide. And this is just some of the early information coming in from California. This was the storm system that came through. I saw this brewing about 48 hours before it happened. You know, folks, once again, we dig up the information, we share it with you, and you have to share it. You have to share the information because that's what it's all about. Maybe we shared the information and maybe it saved someone's life. Hopefully it did. But the devastation in California, pretty intense. All of this information is right on the Planet X News website. This was a young lady right here. Poor thing. She got buried in the mudslide. Absolutely devastated and destroyed her home. Luckily, these first responders, firemen, rescue workers, they were able to dig her out. They saved her life. Thank God. So the situation is pretty dire in California. The rain is now over. Thank God for these people. But there is more and more and more crazy weather on the way. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen this story. I published this story yesterday. Snow covers northern Algeria's desert, the Sahara, for the second year in a row. The Sahara Desert. When you think and you say the word desert, does the thought of snow come to your mind? No, it does not. But for the second year in a row, the Sahara Desert is covered in snow. If that's not climate chaos, then I don't know what is. Just think about it. The Sahara Desert covered in snow. I mean, what the hell? Turn it into a ski resort. All of those big mounds of sand with snow, all of those slopes. Hell, start putting ski lifts in. It's like that old saying goes, what is the world coming to? What is the world coming to? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing it. You're seeing it. I'm going to jump out of the Planet X News website. And again, folks, make sure you follow Planet X News. Bookmark the website. You could always go directly to our YouTube channels, Planet X News, and also Dr. Albers, Planet X Physicist YouTube channel. All the links are right here. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into some of this weather. I'm going to get rid of some of these links up here real quick. And we have some more wicked weather. Getting ready to move into parts of the Northeast, the eastern part of the United States. Starting today and tomorrow and Friday, temperatures, I'm going to go ahead and just click on temperatures. Temperatures are, as you can see, very, very mild. We'll just click on here and get a temperature reading. 41 degrees. Southern Indiana, 38 degrees. Right here where I'm at in the Pittsburgh area, let's click on here, 22 degrees. Now, let's just take a look at, I'm going to run this out. So going through the next couple of days, from Wednesday into Thursday, you can see the temperatures rising. "44, 45, 48. You know, all of the snow that has fallen through all of these regions, upstate New York, Buffalo, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and then all of the East Coast. Folks, we're going to have a very, very rapid snow melt. Rivers, streams, creeks, reservoirs, they're going to be probably at their maximum height. So there's going to be some flooding. There's no doubt about it. But earlier yesterday morning, I was listening to the Weather Underground Network on the Weather Channel. And for the first time, I actually heard a meteorologist make a statement. And when he made the statement, they cut to commercial so fast, the other meteorologist wasn't even finished talking. I don't even know if that guy will have a job come today. But what they were talking about was all of the crazy weather. Unexplainable. They're trying to explain it. They were talking about the large dip in all of this polar Arctic air, pushing all the way down into the United States. The week before, we saw it all play out on the east coast of the United States. Temperatures setting records here in this country. One area, Mount Washington in New Hampshire, recorded a temperature that was colder than the surface of Mars. You know that planet, that red planet they call it, Mars? Yeah, that's a little freaky. But what this meteorologist said to his other co-host, the other meteorologist, they were talking about what is upsetting this jet stream. I think you could throw La Nina out the door. But then the meteorologist made the statement, he said, the only other thing that I could think of that would cause this Arctic air to push this far south is that the Earth is tilting more than it should. Boom! Commercial. I mean, they literally hit the off button on the Weather Underground broadcast. Fade to freaking black. Meteorologists on TV don't talk like that. Whether it was just a slip of the tongue, it was definitely on his mind. And meteorologists, they know. They're not just sitting there, pretty boy and pretty girls, little weather girl and little weather dude, they know what's up. I think it was either a slip of the tongue or he really wanted to voice his opinion. It shocked me. My head spun around. And the minute my head spun around to look at the flat screen, boom, it was black. I mean, they just literally cut the commercial just like that. Yeah, buddy. Talk about censoring, huh? So I'm running this out through Friday. And you can see my temperatures here getting up into the high 40s. They've forecasted temperatures close to 60 degrees within the next 36 hours. Yesterday was decently warm. You know, I mean, it wasn't this Arctic freaking air. Everything pretty much started melting around here. I'm checking river levels in my area because we have three main rivers, the Monongahela, Allegheny, and the Ohio. The Ohio runs straight down into the Mississippi. So we can see there's going to be another push of this Arctic air. And I'm just going to flip over to the actual precipitation, rain, and snow. And you can see another development is going to occur. This is all rain right in here. This yellow and red, this is all rain. The little white dotted area, that's snow. There are a lot of crazy dynamics that are setting up. Once again, I'm going to back off here a little bit, and I want you to look at this circulation right here. This is going to cause impacts by Friday. We're looking at Friday at 4 p.m. We're talking impacts into the shores of Scotland, Portugal, Spain, soon to be France, and the UK. They're going to get whipped by this front. But ladies and gentlemen, if you just take a look at the size of these wind vortexes, that is the size of the whole damn Atlantic Ocean. That's insane. And you have these bozos out there that say, oh, that climate chaos is garbage. Oh, you're just scaring people. Yeah. Right on, buddy. So if we move over to the West Coast, take a look at this convergence system right here. This is Friday, 4 p.m. Where do you think this system's going to go? Well, let's take a look. Let's let it run out. Okay, you're going to see right here, it is going to impact all of the coastal areas of Western Canada and right up here into southern Alaska. These areas of Alaska are the most populated. This is snow, folks. It's all snow. Here, heavy rain. Where is it going to impact? Let's take a look. I mean, if that doesn't look like almost like a hurricane, the way that it's moving. And then this system right here, this is Sunday, the 14th of January, and this is a system right here that I'm watching very, very closely. As you can see, it's already starting to form, and you can see how tight. Let's see if we could get some wind readings on this. It's not wanting to give me any wind readings. Damn it. Oh, here we go. Okay, these are 50-mile-an-hour winds. Let's stretch out here to the state of Washington and Oregon. 14-mile-an-hour winds. What I'm looking at is this system slamming right into the northwestern coast of Washington and Oregon and Northern California. If all of a sudden a lot of rain and moisture make it into the state of Washington, that Rattlesnake Ridge mountain with the big long crack on the top of it, the one that we were just talking about earlier, well, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, folks, looks like we lost a connection there for a second. Can all of you still hear me? So we have a lot of weather that we're going to be watching from coast to coast. So as you can see, this is going to play out. And right here, the system that I was just watching, bingo, there you go. And this area, right here, Yakima. Now, it's showing that this area is going to be kind of clear. That's not going to last. They're going to get hammered. And then you have another system rolling in right here. And then take a look at this system over here. We are already into Friday, January 19th. I'm going to go ahead and back this up. Now we just watched the East Coast. We're going to watch, or we just watched the West Coast. Let's watch the East Coast, how things start to set up. You're looking at this system here. Once again, the UK, they may dodge a bullet, but maybe not. You could see a massive storm system, snow system moving up through Canada. And looky what we have right here. Snow, rain, sleet, ice. And that's going to be heading right over top of me in the next couple of days. Now, one good thing that I've noticed with these systems, folks, is because of the speed and the strength of the jet stream, even though the jet stream is completely out of control, the speeds, the wind speeds in the upper atmosphere in the jet stream are moving very, very, very fast. So that's one good thing, because even though these storms come in, they do their damage, and then they just get out of here. So there's a big difference with these fast-moving storms. They come in, they do the damage, and they're gone. We don't want to see any of these lingering storms that just sit over top of a few states and just dump tons of rain or tons of snow and ice and sleet onto a specific area. So I want all of you to pay very, very close attention to the weather, because these weather systems are moving very, very fast. You know, folks, you can go to work one morning and it could be a bright, sunshiny day, and then by noon, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, or rush hour, boom, you are in a totally different situation. You're on the road, you're on your way home, and now all of a sudden, it went from sunshine to pure chaos. There were numerous accidents on the local highways around the Pittsburgh area the other day whenever we had a system roll through. 17-car pileup on one of the interstates right outside of the city. 17-car pileup, and people lost their lives. People died. One man who I do know, I didn't know him very, very well, a good friend of mine, his uncle, he's a truck driver, 62 years old. He lost his life They're now making funeral arrangements for this man because that storm came in, it set up, and it created a very dangerous situation. And the next thing you know, 17 cars piled up and loss of life. And that's horrible. That's bad. So the weather is going to be playing a very, very big role in our lives. I don't know how long, folks. You know, I saw this coming last year. And I warned everyone. I warned everyone from January, February, March, and April, talking about what was going to be happening in the hurricane season. What I saw setting itself up, well, you know, we saw one of the worst hurricane seasons that I've ever seen. And I see the same identical dynamics setting up again. But they're worse. They're much worse. My advice, folks, you know, keep track of the weather on your cell phone. We all know you have a cell phone. Okay? Keep track of what is happening. If you have to download a weather app on your cell phone, do so with one that has an alert system on it. And you're able to plug in, like, for instance, your zip code. And it will actually use the GPS technology in your cell phone. I hate to say it, but, you know, it will track your movements. And if you're moving along on a highway and you're traveling and you don't know what's up ahead of you, I mean, things can change from good to bad within a very short amount of distance. So maybe you don't know that you're traveling into a freaking blizzard, and then you end up in a multi-car pileup on a highway. So, you know, we have to try to use what technology we have. We have to try to use it to our advantage. I have one set up on my phone. I have, you know, my earthquake app, and now I have a weather application, so I know what's up. But, you know, the majority of the time I'm at my computer and I'm watching these systems, and, you know, I have the ability to do it. I have the time to do it, and I'll try my best to keep all of you up to date with what is happening. But we're going to be seeing, once again, some very, very dangerous weather that will move into the West Coast, and it will move into the East Coast. So it's just a heads up. If any of you folks live in earthquake zones where you get significant earthquake on a daily basis, like California, heed the warnings, folks. Pay attention, because you never know when disaster is going to strike, and you do not want to be that statistic. Warn your family members, you know, warn your husband, warn your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your uncles, aunts, cousins, brothers, sisters, friends. Put it out there. Create a Facebook post. Put it out there. Tweet it like Donald Trump. But there is no end in sight for now. I truly believe that, you know, we have tilted, our planet has tilted somewhat, and this is one of the strange anomalies that's occurring. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the wind map. We're going to move up to the jet stream. So I'm just going to back this off a little bit. So, you know, if we lived in the perfect world, and this is our equator, and again, I'll show this to everybody. This would be about our 23.5 degree tilt, as they call it. What happens if you kind of tilt the planet just a few more degrees backwards like this? What do you see occurring? This blue area that you see here, and I'll let it run out, that's the jet stream. As you can see, I'll bring it back down so you can see it. Let's bring it back. What do you see happening? The jet stream has literally sunk all the way down, and it is erratic. Look at the size of this jet stream. It's massive. And it is full of energy. 10 times more than normal. I'm going to go ahead and bring up one other model so we can get a better view of the jet stream. So here we are, and we're going to look at the jet stream. It's completely erratic. We'll get a top view from the North Pole. Here we are down here in the United States. Let's take a look at it. It's insane. And when I was talking about how wide the jet stream is out here in the Pacific, you can see these vortexes forming up here, here, here. And this part of the jet stream is literally splitting in two. Where is it impacting? You can see. Now, this would be the influx of the warm air coming up from the South Pacific through Mexico into the United States. That is our warm-up as of right now. And then you can see the much, much colder air, this part of the jet stream, which is broken apart. It's not normal. And then you can see the flow as it converges with warm air from down here in the Caribbean and Florida, cold air coming in from the northern tiers of Canada, blending together. And where is it making a beeline for? Straight into France, or excuse me, Spain, Portugal, northern parts of Africa. And then you wonder why there's freaking snow in the Sahara Desert. Temperatures? Once again, hottest place on the planet, Australia. Now, they've had a little bit of a reprieve, but it's not going to last. It is not going to last. There's a very, very high possibilities. Some cyclonic storms can possibly start forming on this coastal area. Now we can see something looks like it's trying to set up right here. But these temperatures in Australia, pretty significant. You know, and I'm going to have to say this. I had one bozo make a comment on one of the posts that I put up about Australia, you know, exceeding 116 degrees in a day. This bozo said, well, you know, you're kind of full of shit, Scott, because this is Australia and this is our summertime, and it's always this hot here. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, maybe this guy's been out in the sun too long, because I followed the weather worldwide every single day for a long time. And 116, 117 degrees in Australia is not normal. I have a lot of Australian followers and subscribers. I even have a few people that I've made friends with in Australia. And it's not normal, and it is the second year in a row. So, ladies and gentlemen, the point that I'm trying to make is we are seeing set patterns of these extremes, and they're getting worse. There is no doubt that already things are worse than they were last year at this time. In both cold temperatures in the northern hemisphere and hot temperatures in the southern hemisphere. They are exceeding what happened last year. So what does that tell you? It tells you that we are moving into a very, very severe progression. If you don't accept it, then don't. We'll all pray for you. But all of the proof, all of the facts, all of the data is already there. It's not looking good. So, in the beginning of my broadcast, I mentioned the power of networking, the power of sharing this information. You know, YouTube may censor me. I don't think Facebook does it yet. Twitter doesn't do it to me yet. But see, ladies and gentlemen, I can do it all on my own. So that's where our network of sharing the information worldwide. I know a lot of you on Facebook belong to different groups and things of that nature. Now is the time to start sharing the information worldwide, creating that massive spider web network. So we can be unstoppable, so we can get this information moving around the world like it should be. Like mainstream media should be doing their damn job. But all they want to do is bring down the President of the United States, and it's just not going to happen. They're wasting their time. They're wasting our time. We have major problems. We have major problems in our solar system. Some people don't want to admit it. Some people say and tell others that I'm lying. I'm not lying. If you don't think that Planet X, as we call it, if you don't think that that damn stellar core is out there by the sun, interacting with the sun, then you explain to me the hundreds of photographs and all of the evidence that we have compiled over the last 2 years. You explain it to me. Have you ever in your life experienced, or have you seen your world in the condition that it's in right now, no matter what age you are? I've never seen it like this. And I think back as many years as my mind will let me go. Yeah, we've seen bad winters. Yeah, we've seen hot summers. But we have never seen such radical changes. One day, it's 0 degrees outside, and the next day, it's 58. The planet is riddled with earthquakes. Volcanoes that have been dormant for hundreds and hundreds of years now spewing volcanic ash 36,000 feet into the atmosphere. Let me tell you something, folks. Some of you may not remember when Mount St. Helens exploded. But there have been over 80, 90 earthquakes in the past several days directly within the volcano. If any of you don't remember Mount St. Helens exploding, go back to YouTube, go on the internet. Look at the destruction that occurred when Mount St. Helens exploded. The Pacific Northwest is riddled with these volcanoes, and not to mention big, bad Yellowstone. So if you're one of those freaks out there that live in denial and don't think that any of this is happening, get the hell off of my live feed. Get the hell off of my Facebook page, and get the hell off of my YouTube channel, because you're not wanted. But when the end comes, do not come crying to any of us. Get your head out of your rear end. Don't be a little stinking troll baby. Don't be an adolescent fool living in denial, you idiot. Don't try to turn people against critical information that may save their lives. Because if you turn one person away from the information, and that person ends up in a catastrophe and loses their life, you're a murderer. You murdered that person because you were an idiot living in denial that none of this is happening, but yet it's happening right in front of your eyes. So don't come to my live feeds or my YouTube channel or my Facebook page and spew your garbage, because I'll twist your freaking head right off. We're living in some very, very critical times, ladies and gentlemen. Very critical times. It's almost to the point where we don't even know what's going to happen minute by minute. It is time for all of us to take back our planet, whatever we can. You know, every time I see things happening around the world, just not my neck of the woods, everywhere, and I know what I do. Call me a truther, call me a Planet X fanatic, call me whatever you want. I've been called every single name in the book. It doesn't bother me. But I'm one hell of a researcher, and I am one hell of an investigator, and I have a huge mouth, and I'm smart, and I'm intelligent. But when I see these things happening in different parts of the world, you know, my heart sinks. Because I know people are taking their last breath. Whether it be from a flood, a volcano, an earthquake, or freezing to death. It digs at me. And because I've chosen this path, I have to live with that. And I do. So once again, for any of you that are living in denial that this is not happening, you better slap yourself in the face and you better wake the hell up. Because before too long, all of this is going to be knocking on your door. And when it knocks on your door and you clam up and your little panties are in a bunch, don't come crying to us. You better get your shit in order. Because we don't know what's going to happen minute by minute and day by day. And we need to continue to network and spread this information worldwide. Because you don't know when you share a story or a video or a live stream, you don't know who else shares it. And they share it, and they share it, and they share it. And then all of a sudden, you reached someone on the other end of the planet that saw the information and you saved their life. And if you don't give a shit about other people, then just crawl right back under that rock where you came from and wait till your time's up. But for the rest of us that want to share the information, accept the information, and help out, you're more than welcome. You're welcome into this family. See, I'm not kind of the person, that turns the other cheek. You strike me, I'll hit you back twice. I go through enough trolling and all this other crap on YouTube, and for years I've had people trying to take me down. I've had people, trying to infiltrate my life, and you name it. But it doesn't work because I'm bigger and I'm badder than any trolling operation on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. We together, we're too powerful for these scumbags. And for some of you that say, oh, this guy sounds like he's angry. Well, are you really serious? I sound like I'm angry? Because of what I do every single day, I see the death and destruction. So, yes, I'm angry. Yes, it digs at the pit of my heart when I watch first responders and rescuers digging out a baby from 4 feet of mud, you stinking lunatic. Let's start getting real here, people. Don't concentrate on my anger, because it's not anger, it's concern. It's concern for my life, my well-being, and everyone else's. So take it like that. Yes, every now and then I have to blow off some steam because I want people to listen to me. I've been doing this for a very long time. I do consider myself knowing what I'm talking about. If I didn't know what I was talking about, none of you would be sitting here listening to me. I'm very concerned. Call it worried. Call it what you want. We're going to pull up the Solar Dynamics Observatory and take a look at the sun real quick before we end this broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the sun has been kind of quiet over the course of the last couple of weeks. I've talked to all of you, and I've mentioned before that over the past 9 months, 10 months, I've kind of developed this calendar that I've been charting the appearances of Planet X in its orbit around the sun, the interaction with this object and the sun. Excuse me. We still continue to see these very large coronal holes developing right in front of your eyes. You can see one right here. You can see a small one closing here, but a very large coronal hole at the top of the sun and one closing in the southern hemisphere of the sun. These coronal holes, they spew very heavily charged particles 1,000,000 miles an hour directly towards the Earth. When you're looking at the SDO image that you're looking at right now, you're looking at the Earth view. This is what you're looking at from the Earth, from the SDO spacecraft. These heavily charged particles form a stream. They widen out. They travel 93 million miles from the sun to the Earth. They impact the Earth. They penetrate all the way to the core of the Earth, therefore heating the core up more and more and more. Why do you think that we are having the earthquakes? When you start heating the core of this planet up, you're expanding it. Remember what I said in the beginning. The Earth is made up of tectonic plates, similar to a puzzle. But if you had those pieces of that puzzle in the shape of a globe or a sphere, and you pumped internal pressure into the center, what do you think is going to happen to those pieces of the puzzle? They're going to expand outwards. They're going to create shifts in the tectonic plates. Those shifts create earthquakes, severe earthquakes. And on top of all of that, the amount of radiation, solar radiation, that is impacting our planet is worse than it was last year. And we're only in the beginning of 2018. Now, when I was talking about this calendar that I've been charting for almost a year now, it's been pretty right on target. So we are into the 10th of the month. Every single month prior to this, on or about the 9th, 10th, all the way up to about the 23rd of the month, we're going to be looking for another CME, a coronal mass ejection. Even though the sun has been quiet, it's basically in its normal stage of what I've been charting, which means from today for the next 2 weeks, we may see, as charted, a pretty severe coronal mass ejection. Why? Because of the orbit of Planet X around our star. It seems to be at that time, from just about the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all the way through these middle weeks in the month. It seems that that is when it is closest to the sun, and the magnetic pull, the magnetic field of the sun and Planet X, they interact, and then bingo, we have a pretty big coronal mass ejection. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Every single one of those months, that chart has been spot on, dead on. So here we are on January 10th. We're right at the beginning of that point. So I'm going to be monitoring the sun damn near 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because as we can see, coronal holes opening up. Matter of fact, let me just switch over to There was a pretty big filament release a few hours ago. Let's see if it's still on here. You watch up here, upper left-hand corner, you'll be able to see it. That's a pretty big, plasma ejection right up here. If you just notice up here, you know, folks, and this plasma loop, you have to understand, that's like over 100, 200,000 miles or more. That's over 200,000 miles long. You know, the sun from end to end here, its diameter, 865,000, what is it, kilometers? Miles? I forget what it is. So whenever you get situations like this, if this was Earth facing, yeah, we'd get some energy from that. But the coronal holes that I showed you on the other, let's get out of here. These coronal holes, these are large openings in the sun's atmosphere. Like I said, I try to explain it. It's, you know, the lighter color surface here, it's kind of like cloud cover, you know, here on Earth. And all of a sudden those clouds split apart and you could see clear sky. And it's kind of like the same thing. You know, I don't want to get too scientific with you, but so you understand, when you see these black, dark areas, this is all of the surface area of the sun right below the corona being exposed. You're looking at a massive hydrogen reactor just spewing all of that solar energy straight towards the Earth at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Takes about 48 hours, 72 hours based on how fast that solar wind is making its way towards Earth. And it is destroying our magnetosphere, which protects us from this solar energy. Many scientists from around the world have already talked about it. They've written abstracts and papers about it. Our magnetosphere is being depleted. And ladies and gentlemen, without our magnetosphere to protect us from this solar energy from the sun, we don't exist. We don't exist. If you notice in this view from the SDO, you'll notice that you'll see the sun shake a little bit. And remember, this is time lapsed. This is a 48-hour loop. This is not in real time. So when you see the sun shake like that, that's actually happening in super slow motion. This is just a 48-hour compiled loop. And we've been seeing this jolting of the sun for 2 years now, and it's actually gotten worse. And we consistently see this every month around this time. Some will say that this is the camera mechanisms on the spacecraft. Well, I beg to differ, because there are other spacecrafts filming data from the sun that are not related to the SDO satellite, and the same jolting is seen on those spacecraft at the same time. So you're always going to have your little scumbag troll babies that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground that will make you believe that it's the camera setting itself back up, making adjustments. Well, why do you see the same thing on the GOES satellite? Why do you see the same thing on the stereo satellite? Why do you see the same thing on the SDO satellite? Yeah. Explain that. So if you actually had a very large, powerful stellar object with a very strong magnetic field interacting with the sun and its massive, strong magnetic field, push and pull, tug of war, what do you think is going to happen? Everything going on out there on our sun affects everything on this planet. With the very tight orbit of Planet X and our sun, we are now starting to see more and more chaos on Earth. Will it get better anytime soon? I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think so. I think this year of 2018 may possibly be a very, very trying time for humanity on this planet. And again, just because things aren't occurring in your neck of the woods, in your town, in your city, in your state, maybe your country, doesn't mean it's not going to come knocking on your door sometime soon. It just may. And remember, you know, the size of the Earth compared to the sun, you're looking at nothing but a very, very tiny little planet. Just a little blue and green planet. So suppose, you know, they suspect that it's 93 million miles away from the sun. That's the measurement that they give us in science. We are 93 million miles away from the sun. But everything that happens on that sun, our star, affects us on this planet. I don't care whether you believe in all of the evidence that we've found over the course of the last 2 years. But it's happening. It's happening. When I started preaching about this subject in the summer of 2016, and I had been investigating Planet X and the theories of Nibiru, I had been investigating that for many, many years. I think this is almost 16, 17 years now. And I just decided, wow, things are really, really intensifying. I think I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. And then as I started to see things happening, and as I dug deeper and deeper and deeper, I started finding very crucial evidence that is being held from all of us. Because if the world population knew what was exactly happening, you would probably have large numbers of people freaking out, thinking that it was going to be the end of the world. Nobody really knows the end of the world time scale. I mean, you know, my personal opinion, I don't think that we're looking at the end of the world. But we're looking at some very, very trying times. Things that are very dangerous. And just because you get up and go to work every day and, you live your life, you may think that you're going to come home every day and you're going to be safe and you're going to be sound and you're going to see your family again at the end of that day. Well, listen, folks, let me give you a news flash. You can be snuffed out in a split second by, plain and simple, getting caught up in one of these catastrophic events that you don't know anything about. Just like my friend's uncle. He just died a few days ago in that 17-car pileup on the interstate because of that weather system that just came out of nowhere, created very hazardous conditions instantaneously on that highway. Did that man think that he was never going to make it home to see his family? Did he go to work that day and think about that? No, he did not. So we take that for granted. I've done it. You've done it. It's time for each and every one of us to become more and more alert, more and more enlightened to what is happening. It's critical. It's crucial. When I see things happening like that and I hear about these types of things, young people dying from the flu, people dying from floods. One thing that upset me terribly was when the large earthquake hit in Mexico. And that elementary school was devastated and crumbled. And one of the camera crew, they were looking down into an opening in this concrete structure. And all they saw were little legs of these 5- and 6-year-old children sticking out of, underneath massive amounts of concrete rubble. So those little boys and those little girls went to school that day in Mexico, and they never came home. So for any of you that are, trolling the live chat, for any of you that troll my YouTube channel, for any of you idiots that make fun of this information, you're ridiculous. You better wake up. I see and I witness the devastation around the world every single day. Probably much, much more than all of you do because of what I do. And there are days that it gets to me. So please don't come here to try to make fun of any of this information or any of this that is happening around the world, because you're probably going to regret it. And when tragedy strikes in your family, and you lose a child, or you lose a loved one, or you yourself take your last breath under a massive chunk of concrete, like those children did. It's not fun and games. We're living in some very, very trying times. Scary. But you know, another saying that I use frequently, don't be scared, be prepared. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you can't prepare for things that are within the unknown. But again, with all of us forming this network worldwide, we can share this information. We can get this information out to everyone. People will have the ability to see what is happening, to understand what is happening, possibly making a small adjustment in the course of that day that might save their life. That's the key. I hope this early morning, all of you watching, I hope that you were able to take something away with my words today. We're not playing a game. This isn't a video game. This is real life. And it's happening right before your eyes. Don't make jokes about it. You better take it seriously. Like I said in the beginning, folks, we're going to be looking at some very, very freaky weather moving in across the United States, as well as many, many other countries. Europe, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, South America, Africa, the South Pacific, Australia, Asia, worldwide. Keep your eyes and your ears wide open. And again, remember, be a little bit more alert. You know, if you're leaving for work, check out what's happening. See what's going on. Try to get a future cast. Make sure you're paying attention to that weather. You know, it may just be the information that saves your life, that brings you home to your family that day. It is kind of sad that we are living in this time period. It's intriguing to see these things because I've always had a passion for earth, space science and things of that nature. But I too have wised up, seeing and noting that these things that are happening, they're costing people their lives. We can't take it lightly. It's not a joke. Playtime is over. You need to protect yourself. You need to protect your loved ones. It's the bottom line. Well, listen, folks, I'm going to get moving, end this live stream. And there's a whole lot of stuff that I have to dig into today. And I might have Dr. Albers on with us later on in the afternoon for a live stream. She's been doing some incredible work with her reports and her articles. And she's very concerned also about what is happening. It's quite upsetting, you know, when you dig into things as deep as we do. You know, sometimes it does get to you because you kind of feel that you wish, you know, there was something more that you can do to stop all of this. Part of nature, part of our destiny. Who knows? All I know is each and every one of us, we're living it. You're watching it all play out. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, be safe. Knowledge is power. Keep yourself informed. Keep yourself up to date. Remember to share the information, the articles, the videos, the posts on Facebook or Twitter, the videos on YouTube. Share the information. Talk about it. Educate people that don't know what's going on. Bring them up to speed. Because if you're watching this broadcast now, you are part of the truth movement that's making its way around the planet. Be safe, everybody. Take care. Make sure that you are cautious about all traveling because the weather systems are going to be moving fast and they're going to be strong. So heed the warning. This is Scott from Planet X News. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me this very early morning. Take care. God bless.